Welcome to this special edition of the Pivot Line, a joint program between Voice of America and in the United States and Channel 1 in Afghanistan. My name is Said Zafar Hashimi, and in this special episode, we're partnering with the University of Texas in Austin to bring a panel of student leaders from Austin and Kabul to discuss student life and activities, civic engagement, and leadership, and how students on both sides here in Austin and Kabul view each other's lives and cultures, and how much do they know about each other. In this crosstalk, we aim to facilitate a conversation between these young leaders so that they can talk about perceptions and misperceptions, how they can connect and share experiences with one another, and what it means to be a student here in the US and in Afghanistan. And finally, we try to bridge some communication and cultural gaps that might exist between the two sides. Here in Texas, I have Kiefer Shank with 3 majors in business, finance, and sports management. Kristen Bay is in the middle, and she majors in business and marketing. And to my very right, I have Lauren Mills, who is also a student at the University of Texas. Welcome everyone, and we would look forward to having a very fruitful debate and dialogue with students in Kabul. And now, let's go to Kabul and see what my counterpart, Haris Gibran, has to say.
Peace be on you. We welcome you to the joint program of Pivot Line between Voice of America and One Television. It's a debate between the students of Afghanistan and Texas, Austin, in our other studio. Today we will be having a debate. As a whole, we will be looking at the situation of students in Afghanistan and of the students in Texas as a whole in the United States of America. We will be focusing at the lives of students in Afghanistan and in the United States of America, how they are. And at the same time, perception that the students on both the ends have and how they define this. And at the same time, at the end, we will be looking at the civil life of the students of Afghans in Afghanistan and in the United States of America. At the same time, we'll see how, for instance, the understanding of the activities of the students in both the places is. In this studio in Kabul, I have 3 guests. Mr. Mashal, studying politics and security in one of the universities in Afghanistan. Ms. Mitra, she's a student of the social sciences in one of the universities in Afghanistan, and also Sayyid Samim Rohani, student of the Faculty of Economics in one of the universities of Afghanistan, and will now ask respected Zafar to go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gibran. Let's start with Kiefer here at the University of Texas in Austin, and let him talk about how is it to be a student in a campus at a U.S. university.
Definitely, thank you for that question. Being a student in especially Austin, Texas, here in the United States is a pretty great experience, I would say. There's so much to do, there's so much to get involved in besides just school. There's so many organizations, there's a lot of stuff to do in Austin, Texas, the city itself. It's a very music-centered city, a lot of outdoor activities. Overall, I would say being a student is probably the best time of my life so far. There's so much to do, I'm learning a lot at the same time, get to make great friends like I have up here with me. So overall, I'd say being a student in the United States is a pretty good deal.
And on the other side of the panel, I have Christina. How is role of a student leader defined at the University of Texas in Austin, and speaking generally in the United States academia?
Sure. So I think being a student leader here in Austin is such a great opportunity because the administrators here, the students here, they're very, very receptive to what we have to say. And so being a student leader in a student government organization, we get to hear about if students have issues within classrooms, we can work to address those issues together with the administrators. And so we have definitely a lot of influence in the university, and I definitely am thankful for that.
Student government body, that's something that probably people in Afghanistan, your
Sure.
Counterparts in Afghanistan, would like to know more about. What is that?
Sure. So student government is basically a voice for the students. And so if you have any problems that are within the university, if you are having some issues with how the classes are designed, or even social issues, things like that. We gather all those voices together and make a plan as to how to carry out to address those issues. And for other things, we also like to recognize our professors here in the university. And so we have a say in which professors we'd like to recognize for their work. And we also do a lot of other things like promoting internships and study abroad to the students here. So being a student leader means being able to recognize what students' needs are and being able to address them in a way that students would be receptive to them.
And Lauren, the aim of this crosstalk is to increase understanding between students here in the United States and in Afghanistan. And Christina was talking about international experience through facilitation of international experience through this student body. How do you find that? Is it really effective, or it's just a symbolic thing that really doesn't materialize a lot?
I think it's actually very effective for students to talk to students across the world and for students here to talk to students in Afghanistan, because we're the future leaders of both our countries, and we're opening up the dialogue young while we're still in university, while we're still students. And I think that can definitely have a strong impact to relations for both our countries in the future and how we want to see our world. So I don't think it's just symbolic. I think it's definitely very important to have these type of discussions.
And do you have any idea how students engage in civic activities, and how do they work in Afghanistan? Is it just going to typical classroom or having extracurricular activities? You're welcome to ask questions from your folks in Kabul.
Okay, so I would like to know what activities do y'all participate in outside of your studies?
Thank you. I wanted to ask this question from my friends here in the Kabul studio. The fact that you are studying, what other activities you do, if you'd please tell us. Thank you. I'd like to pass my gratitudes to my respected friends in America and to all the viewers viewing us now. We are fortunate that we have this opportunity, and the fact that we can exchange views with each other. We can learn from each other. Fortunately, of the matters our respected friends talked about, we also have extracurricular activities. As was said, we have the students' gatherings, there are sort of unions, and some students lead the remaining students, and they are elected through the election process. At the same time, we have clubs. We have debate club, and different students from the different countries, for instance, represent. So with that, we can increase the level of information of our students, and at the same time, we have sports clubs. And all these enable the students, besides their classroom studies, be able to acquire further skills to the leadership level, to the management level, and to the other activities. And I believe this is a very good opportunity for them, so that they can get familiar with the others, and they can understand really how outside their classrooms, outside their universities, how they can have better activities and how they can be more effective. Thank you very much. Before we move to the studio of Texas, I wanted to seek permission from my respected friend, Mr. Zafar. We will have some questions, and then we'll allow for the questions from Texas. I wanted to ask from you, Marshall, how is it to be a student in Afghanistan? Would like to pass my gratitudes to all the respected friends, to respective viewers. The status of students, I mean, what aspect we are looking at it, and what do we want to say it differs? For example, somebody who's got a better economy and who is studying, who is doing research and is at home, and there are some students who are at the same time working and who are the breadwinners of their families. It's definitely different between these students. Some are only studying and some are also working and studying, so this is absolutely different. Yes, Marshall, I exactly wanted to know the picture of Afghanistan with the world. So I wanted to know this from the point of view of the future leader. The systems have changed in Afghanistan and better opportunities for the new generation of Afghanistan have been provided. With this, they have been able to exhibit, they have been able to show their skills. I would like to ask you how comfortable you are studying. I'm studying for master's. It's my first semester. I told you that I'm studying master in one of the universities. We do research and see we have this opportunity that with the government, non-government organizations, we now have contacts. Our university conducts conferences for us on every Thursday. The deputy ministers even attend those conferences, and the directors and others, and they give us further information about those topics that we discuss. So the awareness level of our students has improved. If we, for instance, see the figures of 2012, 99,530 students in Kabul University, which is a public university, were enrolled. And at the same time, you see we also have private universities in Afghanistan increasing now. So this shows a positive movement among Afghans towards being more academic. Now, looking at the definition made by Mr. Mashal, we can be optimistic about the stability and prosperity of Afghanistan. One of the objectives is to be a mirror and be able to show to the world that, yes, there are opportunities in Afghanistan. I'd like to ask Sameem, conducting of such debate between the leaders of two countries, and particularly a country like United States of America in Afghanistan, how useful can this be for the Afghans? Would like to pass my gratitudes to the respective friends in Austin studio and to the viewers. This communication and this exchange of thoughts we are doing through this debate, of course, in the future, when we will be at the leadership, will be very helpful to us. When we will get at that level, because we will at that time, we wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to better understand the view of others. So it's very important that we, from this stage onward, start getting to know each other. We will be able to make better informed decisions. It will tackle any communication gaps, and we will be able to have better communication and be able to address the problems in a very effective way of the world. And now, voluntarily, if any of the questions must you have from the students of Texas? I wanted to ask first question because my understanding is that the students who study full-time, at the same time, they have to be busy at the they have to be able to do certain work to be able to support themselves. This is how it is in Afghanistan. I mean, besides you study, you have to work. I'd like to know about the students in America, how it is. You only study, or besides studying, you also have to work to make money. So we'll now go to the studio in Austin, and we'll want the answer to this question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jabran. I saw that everyone in my panel were waving their heads and looked like everyone is ready, so I'll just go directly to Christina and to answer that question.
Yeah, definitely. So I do work here on campus. I work about 6 hours a week, and I work in a program that I'm in, Business Honors Program, and so I'm kind of the first point of contact for the program itself. Fortunately, I do get quite a bit of scholarship from the state itself, and so I do not have to work full-time. I definitely think that, you know, working full-time and also becoming a full student, that would be a lot of responsibility to do, and so I give all my respect for you being able to do so, but I've been able to do a little bit of part-time work here and there, but yeah.
Okay, and now talking about perceptions and misperceptions, you know, the image that you get from Afghanistan, if someone hasn't been very informed about how the U.S. is and how the United States functions, and how people in the United States live, especially students and young leaders. And the same goes in Afghanistan. You know, a typical American student might not know a lot about Afghanistan because of the media, because of the perception that we get from the little bites in the media that we see on a daily basis is not accurate. And that's the very reason that we have today this show. Kiefer, what's your understanding of Afghanistan and Afghans, and particularly the youth in Afghanistan, which consists the majority of the Afghan population? And if you would like to have any questions on that regard, please pass it to Kabul.
It's a very good question. And I will say, to be perfectly candid and honest, I don't know too much about the day-to-day lives of an Afghan, especially the youth. I didn't really know until a few days ago when I was studying about the country that it is a majority youth, majority of the population is youth. So honestly, I don't know too much. And from what I see in the media, all I really see is them being portrayed as a country that's broken, a country that needs help. But from what I can see, or from what I've learned in the past couple of days, kind of just studying, is that that's not what it's like. And I'm really interested in hearing about your perspective of what you think we think about you and what you want to correct us on. So if you could let me know what you want us to know about you guys, and then maybe we can answer you what we want you to know about us.
Thank you, Mr. Zafar, and the respected panelists. I would now like to pass this question to you. Who would like to respond to this question? From our respected friends in America. I mean, I would like for them to have a real perception, and they are not to be blamed, because whatever media broadcasts, or always the news about explosions, suicides. Today's Afghanistan is the Afghanistan, the youth of which is optimistic about the future. We want to make the future. We sitting in this panel, besides studying in all the areas that we want change be brought at, we are working with full potential of ours. All the youth are struggling in making sure, because whatever has been experienced by the previous generations, the youth now do not want to experience the same. Our elections just showed that the youth very actively participated. Not only they went and casted their vote at the polling stations, but they also were involved in the election process to make sure that the elections get conducted in a very transparent, impartial way. And one other thing, I'm very fortunate. One of our greatest achievements in Afghanistan are the free media. And this free media that we have been able to help stand on its feet. For example, if you see the anchors, they're all youth. Those who want to bring change, those who want the government be accountable to, those whatever they don't like, for instance, and is negative, they want be changed, and they are youth. So I would want for the world see Afghanistan, an Afghanistan which is optimistic about its future, and which has got a stronger manpower, human resource, struggling very hard and want to bring changes for the better future. Thank you very much. And one question I would like to ask from the respected students of the Austin University, and I'd just like to whoever want to ask. Before this program, what was your understanding? What image did you have? I mean, about the future leaders and the youth of Afghanistan before this debate?
Lauren, would you like to go for that? Just before you start, I would like to remind our viewers that this is a special edition of the Pivot Line, a joint venture between Voice of America in the United States and Channel 1 in Afghanistan. And here we are in Austin, Texas, trying to bridge the gap that exists between young leaders and students at the universities here in Afghanistan and the United States. Please.
Okay, I think what we hear in the international media in the United States, or what we get, is not necessarily exactly what's happening on the ground. Like you said, we hear a lot about the war, about the bad things that are happening, perhaps explosions and things of that nature. But we don't truly get to hear about just student life or young leaders, or what students are trying to do to improve their country and their future for themselves and their fellow countrymen. And I think that's very important for the population in the United States to kind of hear these stories. I would say recently in the news media in the U.S., the elections in Afghanistan have been covered a lot. And so that's good. We get to hear more about the electoral process and how people are not scared to go out and vote for the next leader of Afghanistan, and that it takes extreme courage to make sure that you're taking the country in a new and great direction.
Thank you. Now, I wanted to ask a question from the respected students here in Kabul. Would like to mention that you're viewing the joint special episode of Pivot Line between Voice of America and Television One, a debate between the young students of Afghanistan and the United States of America. Marshall, if you could please tell us the image that the foreigners have about the Afghans and about the Afghan youth. How true can that be? And what is the reality in Afghanistan?
و واقعیت قضیه در درون افغانستان چی است؟
Yes, Mr. Gibran. See, if we are realistic, the understanding, the perception of most of the people of Afghanistan is not complete, because we see where are the problems we have with the United States of America. We don't have any problems with the technology, with the knowledge base and everything. But one problem in Afghanistan until now has been that we have not had a research institute introducing America in West to the people, because on the other hand, if you see at the United States of America, they have people who introduced East to them. I wanted to ask my question like this. I mean, the image of Afghans, the new breed that we have with the better opportunities. I mean, I wanted to hear about these facts from you. I believe that the students of Texas, Austin, would like to also. As a student, if I would like to say, the books that we study, 65% of the book produced in America, our students know. The best theoreticians, I believe they have. We're very grateful for great theories developed in the shape of books and sent to us, and we're learning from it. And the understanding of the youth, I mean, we know this. But then again, the understanding of the people in the rural areas is different. And it was also mentioned by the respective friends there in Austin, the mass media and other. If any American NGO makes a bridge for us, they will not reflect it on the media, because and they usually show more destructive things. So I mean, it is the role of media. So what you want to say is that the truth is not reflected on the media. On the contrary, there are so many things, so many achievements in Afghanistan. Yes, absolutely. If you will properly reflect the civil society, the achievements of Afghanistan, I mean, if we look at the civil society has improved very much. And this is what the media should do, reflect the positive achievement. I'd also like to hear from Samim, very briefly, the understanding of you about life in the United States of America, particularly of the youth, students in America. What do you think? And after that, we will then go to the Texas studio. First, I want to say that kind of an image that they should have is right. It is also true that we have a lot of physical restrictions. Our physical restriction, for example, not having access to a big library that should be updated one, or for example, we have these security concerns and all the other. But at the same time, we have to see the technology and these resources provided to us by the help of technology. This is a great way. We are a generation having been introduced to this technology now, have the information about, and at the same time, outside the physical restrictions, I mean, as much as we can, we try and find information about the others. We are innovative. We are creative. In our university, we have been able to develop this culture of debate among students. We have been able to develop the culture of volunteerism. So we have been able to convince the students the fact that the time and skills they have, they can put at the disposal of their community, and with the capacity they have, they can help the remaining member of the community. I mean, I would like to say that the understanding of us they have about the restrictions we do face is true, but we also have been able, with the innovation and creativity of ours, come out of these restrictions to some extent. And at the same time, the image among the students in Afghanistan is that they have great opportunities. The students who are outside, I mean, they have access to a lot of entertainment. They have great facilities that the students in Afghanistan don't have. This is the kind of image that the Afghan students have. It is also true to some extent, but at the same time, the students there also have to study, also have to work very hard to be able to get their degrees. Thank you very much, Mr. Samim. And I think now is the chance for Texas. Christiana, I think we would like to ask, before this debate, before this program, did you know that there are certain activities that the youth in Afghanistan are doing, and the youth in Afghanistan are active in moving forward? Did you know about this, Miss Christiana?
I have not, and so I'm quite surprised, actually. I had really no relations to Afghanistan at all, and so I came with a fresh pair of glasses, and I really feel that the students here in Afghanistan are very, very motivated and really foreseeing what they would like to see in their nation, and so it's actually motivating me right now to do something too.
You're watching a special edition of the Pivot Line, a joint program between Voice of America in the United States and Channel 1 in Afghanistan. And we have a panel of student leaders here in Texas as well as in Kabul who are talking about the issues that they face as students and future leaders in their respective countries. And I would like to ask Samim and the fellow students there in Kabul that there is a perception among ordinary people in different countries outside the United States, the perception that Hollywood presents to them about the United States, that it's fighting drugs and, not the real America. And also, Afghanistan is not what it's portrayed and what is it like to, looks like in the media. You talked about technology and importance of technology and bridging that gap. What else you can do and youth leaders in Afghanistan can do to reduce those perceptions, as well as connect the youth who are said to be the future leaders of these countries?
Thank you, Mr. Zafar. Mr. Samim, the question was directed to you. One of the practical experience we had at the social sciences class, there we could establish a conference with one of the American universities through Skype. It was a joint conference, and it was on the research paper they had about Afghanistan. We exchanged our views with that through that Skype conference. And this dialogue that we had between two students, it went outside the research paper topic. It went on the matters of talking about the daily life of what we experience as students, for instance. Those issues we talked about. And I believe having such joint programs being useful to both of us, the fact that we have been able to help them understand about their paper that they were to write. And it also helped us because we were studying certain things, and it was also related to their research paper. So the Skype conference we had have been very much positive for both the sides. I think that we should not only be confined to the Skype sort of conferences. We can develop joint networks. We can do certain joint activities. What they will have actually done back in the United States of America and will be like a better lessons learned, and with that they will have actually helped their community. We could bring the same model and implement it in Afghanistan and could help the students with. And at the same time, I think we could have clubs studying books together about Afghanistan or the United States of America, and at the end of the day sharing our views with each other. And it is actually the result of such programs with which the physical distance that actually exists between us will slowly be able to tackle it, and hopefully will have established a better platform for the understanding between each other. Well, the program continues of Pivot Line of the debate between the students of Texas and Afghanistan.
Welcome back to this special edition of Pivot Line, a joint program between Voice of America in the United States and Channel 1 in Afghanistan. And we have student leaders here in the University of Texas in Austin, as well as university students in Kabul, Afghanistan. And now I'd like to ask Lauren to throw a couple of questions or one to the panel in Kabul.
Okay, I have a question for the female panelists. What do you think, do you face any unique challenges being a woman studying at a university?
قبلا هم ما گفتیم در جایی که ما زندگی میکنیم در افغانستان
Of course, it is not without challenges living in Afghanistan. There are different kinds of challenges living in Afghanistan. Different sorts of challenges that always I come across. And my friends in the university, we have said no to the challenges because for the change that we want in our lives, unless we fight against those challenges, we will not be able to bring that change in our life. In a country like Afghanistan, it will not be without challenges. But the challenges never can stop us or have never been able to stop us from having our activities onward. And the changes that we want to bring in our lives, in our country, we definitely have moved forward.
مملکت خود بیاریم.
Thank you very much. Wanted to have one question. I mean, part of the question was left that was asked from Samim. So I want to ask you, the image with the foreigners. What is the duty that the future leaders should do to be able to change that image or kind of make that look positive?
جهش بدن که در افغانستان هم فرصت‌ها وجود داره بر جوانان.
I mentioned this earlier, that youth are struggling to have those changes in their lives. But we cannot say if they have all the opportunities. With the difference we have with the students of America are in two areas. First, how much opportunities we have, how much access we have to certain resources. But there is another thing, our own motive to what we really want to do. With the situation of Afghanistan, we do not have access to those facilities with which we'll be able to bring the change. But we do have the motive. Besides all the challenges, we still want to bring that change. And, for example, from the academic point of view, I don't see any challenge. I don't see anything that will be an obstacle. With the help of internet, we can have access to as much of the information we want. And we can learn from the experience of the other countries. We can learn from their knowledge, from their culture. And learning from the experience of the other countries, I could bring changes in my country. And I'd like to ask Marshall if we'll want to ask any questions from the students of Austin, Texas. This exchange of thought between us, there is a question and at the same time a suggestion that will help us be more closer. For example, see, for Afghans, the Afghan students who are in America, if they may be interested. From there, we can be members of their sites or, for example, the JSTOR, National Congress, and other sites, because they have affiliation with the other universities. If could convince them for us be able to have the membership of as well, which will help solve our problems.
We're in the very last minutes of our program, and I would like to kind of wrap up this program and wrap up what we talked about here in Texas as well as in Kabul, and ask these future leaders, why is it important that we're having this discussion, and what future holds for you and your counterparts in Kabul. And challenges are always there. Here in the United States, it's not glorious. You have a lot of problems. And let's not forget that Afghanistan is still at war, and people are faced with numerous challenges. What makes you wake up in the morning and say, I can do it, I can be a better person, I can be an active and engaged citizen and future leader? Lauren.
Okay, I guess what motivates me is our motto at the University of Texas is what starts here changes the world. And like one of the panelists in Afghanistan discussed, I think collaborating at the university level is very important moving forward for us to talk about our research and talk about our misconceptions and what the future holds for the United States and what the future holds for Afghanistan and the partnerships moving forward, and just keeping these conversations alive amongst the students.
Definitely. Globalization has been an issue and a problem that we've always wanted to address here in the U.S., and I definitely believe that that is true for Afghanistan as well. I think the fact that we are interacting here together, even if it's through satellite, just gives us a lot more opportunity for us to get to know you better, for you to get to know us better, and it also provides that synergy. As I was talking about, the youth in Afghanistan, so motivated to improve the country. It's been motivating us here as well, and so having that environment has been really, really interesting.
I suppose to add on to that, they covered a lot of the ground there, but I think there's so much ambiguity in the world, there's so much that's unclear between cultures, and it's very important. This is one good example of how we can kind of solve that ambiguity, know more about each other. For example, one of the things that you guys said was that you face a lot of challenges, but you push through, you say no to those challenges, and I thought that was a very inspiring statement. When I think of a challenge, I think, what can I do to solve it, rather than just say no and overcome it altogether. And I think it's a much better viewpoint. And you also mentioned your Skype conversations and the idea of a book club or studying together and doing something like that. I like that idea a lot. I think that coming from this project right now, we can continue this relationship, even between us and you guys, like personally. I think it's just great. I learned a lot today. I hope you guys learned some too, and I really hope this continues.
And the same question goes to the panel in Kabul, Mr. Gibran.
Thank you. So the same question that my respected friend Zafar asked, so I wanted to ask the same question from the respect students here. So the conducting of such programs, the fact that we get to know each other, how much can this be motivating? How much this can be convincing to extend the relations between both the sides? To kind of have a wrap-up of this program, what do you think? What gives me hope is that on both sides there is the desire to have a realistic look at the issues and challenges that we have. This is something. I mean, there is a desire on either side that we want to have information about each other, and we want for such relations and for such networks be further extended, and we want to have more information about each other. This joint desire gives me hope, makes me optimistic to have a better future, and we will have a better future between us, because once we have that desire of getting to know each other better, with this we will be able to tackle this misconception. I think tackling misconception can be one of the great achievements of such programs. What do you think, Ms. Mitra? Today's debate has been very useful, not only for us, but also for our counterparts over there. It provides us with the opportunity to have a better understanding of each other and share our views with each other for better changes, for positive changes. They also mentioned there is this phenomenon of globalization. We will not be safe from the effects of each other. If we will want to have a better life where we both could have a better life, there is need for better synergy, for better coordination, for better understanding of each other, and there is need to learn from the experiences of each other, about the work of each other. So such programs provide us with that opportunity, provide us with that platform to be able to get to better goals that each of us pursue at the different parts of the world. And what about you, Mr. Marshall? Mr. Samim said this joint desire. I mean, this is the best thing in this panel been, as was said. They had a different understanding about Afghanistan, and now they have a better understanding about Afghanistan. They can share it with their students, fellows. And we would also like to request, there are pressure groups they have at the university. They are influential on the government. So if they will provide us Afghans with the opportunity, support us at our studies, support us with the scholarships, and all the other. We also talked about opportunities and challenges in Afghanistan, for example. Still, the problem is that a lot of students do not get the chance to be able to study at university after they graduate from the school. And then what happens? They go and join the religious schools where they become extremists. So it is important to avoid these things, keep providing more students with the opportunities to be able to learn. The biggest message from this joint program of Voice of America and One Television is that the young generation of America, the citizens of America, we have given this message that yes, there exist opportunities, capacity, and skills in Afghanistan. We'll now go to Texas and we'll request Mr. Zafar to wrap up. I don't know if we still have time. In less than 1 minute, I'd like to ask all the students here to have a comparative sort of discussion of how much do they really study every day.
Very briefly, starting with Kiefer. Be brief, please.
Sounds good. How much I study every day? I'd say it definitely differs week by week, but maybe 2 or 3 hours a day after class, for sure.
I like to study about 5 hours a day, and there are a lot of studying spaces here. I go to cafes or libraries, and so I enjoy my studies.
Good.
I would say I study after class. Well, it's not necessarily studying, it's more doing homework, probably about 4 to 5 hours in the evening.
Thank you very much, the three of you, and also my coworker in Kabul, as well as the students in Afghanistan. And this brings us to the end of our discussion in this special edition of Pivot Line from Austin, Texas, and Kabul, Afghanistan. I hope you found this program informative, and we will have more of similar discussions in the future, exploring issues that create division and talk about commonalities and experiences that can bring peoples of the two countries together. So stay tuned. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zafar from Texas Austin, from the respected students there. And also would like to especially thank the respected students here. Would like to wrap up. Just 1 minute we have. Would like to ask you the same question. How many hours do you study every day? Every day, well, I can't study more than 1 hour because I kind of am tired. Besides my studies, I don't know how much. I actually, every week I study one extra book besides my own university books. My homework and my university books for 3 to 4 hours every day. And at the same time, I love reading novels. And at least 1 hour every day I read novels. Thank you very much from the respected friends at the studios of Kabul and Texas. And I'd like to thank you, respected viewers, for following us, for being with us. This will continue. Thank you very much.